That's why I said intrinsic, inborn, meaning that it's born within you. When you come to this world, you have value.
Does it mean unique?
Unique, no. Unique is not intrinsic. Intrinsic just means that it's part of you, right? يعني ذاتي. In Arabic we say ذاتي. عندك قيمة ذاتية. لأن الله سبحانه وتعالى هو الذي خلقك. واضح؟ So since the All-Perfect created you, then you're born with great value. So yes. Yes, Abu al-Fadl.
How does one find that great value? How does one how does one see that great value in themselves?
Yeah. Well, I think that once you connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are several ways to connect. One is intellectually, like we're doing here, right? And then realizing this is a principle I have to really base my life around, right? That this is the starting point of everything. Okay? But when you want to build a house, you have to have a strong foundation, right? If you have a weak foundation, what happens to the house? Breaks down, right? Exactly, yeah. So the strong foundation for any human being is tawheed, is believing first and foremost in God, proving His existence, right? Imam Ali, he says it beautifully in the first sermon in the book Nahj al-Balagha. Remember I mentioned the book Nahj al-Balagha in the first Q&A for you. We didn't record that Q&A, but it's good to mention that there are books that you should have in your library. Number one is Nahj al-Balagha. It's called The Path or the Peak of Eloquence. And this is basically a compilation of Imam Ali's sayings and sermons, okay? And I mentioned to you that at the very end of that book, the last chapter of that book is basically short sayings of wisdom by Imam Ali salamullahi alayhi. They say if you want to be wise and eloquent in speech, then you should read those short sayings. And on our Instagram, the Knowledge Seekers 14 Instagram, we actually have, if you go down, you scroll down, you'll find that we have a good majority of them translated for you in Arabic and in English. Okay, so what does Imam Ali say in this first sermon, second paragraph? He says, أول الدين معرفته. He says the first of religion is to know God. Then he says, وَكَمَالُ مَعْرِفَتِهِ التَّصْدِيقُ بِهِ. He says the perfection of so he said what? أول الدين معرفته. First of religion is to know Him. And then وَكَمَالُ مَعْرِفَتِهِ. The best way to know Him is what? التَّصْدِيقُ بِهِ. Is to prove His existence. تصديق. Is to prove and affirm that something exists. That God exists, right? That's what we did in the first lecture, right? In the proof of organization, the proof of the unlimited creator. And then he says, وَكَمَالُ تَصْدِيقِهِ تَوْحِيدُ. He says the best way for you to prove Allah's existence, the perfection of it, the peak, the pinnacle of it, is what? Is to have tawheed. What is tawheed? To prove that God is unlimited, like we did. That's why we looked at what is God's most important characteristic. Okay? Because then every other characteristic falls into place. He is the all just, He is the all merciful, He is the all, right? You see? Fill in the gap. All kind, all tolerant, all. Then after that he says, وَكَمَالُ التَّوْحِيدِ لَهُ الْإِخْلَاصُ لَهُ. He says, and the perfection, the best way to truly have tawheed, right? To connect with Allah on that level of knowing He's unlimited and He's everywhere, is then you dedicate yourself solely to Him. Your sincerity is only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything that you do. Notice in Salah, we recite a chapter, a short chapter, the short surah after Al-Fatiha. Okay, the first surah is the Fatiha, which is the first chapter of the Holy Quran. The second is, we call it قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, right? Or we call it Al-Tawheed or Al-Ikhlas, right? Now in Al-Tawheed or the chapter of Al-Ikhlas, what does it say? It says قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, say that God is Ahad, meaning unique, that there is none like Him. Allahu Samad, that Allah is steadfast. Lam yalid wa lam yulad, He neither begets nor is begotten. He doesn't have any children and He is not born, because we said He's unlimited. So to ask who created Him is the wrong question, right? Because He's the supreme, ultimate creator of all things, right? He doesn't have a creator, doesn't have a beginning, because He's unlimited, right? And therefore He doesn't have an end as well, right? And so now that I realize this, right? What happens? I say, okay, well, in قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, it says لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ, and there is none like Him. So it's a restatement, an emphasis that He is unique and that He is unlimited. Right? Okay. So this chapter is called Al-Ikhlas. Why? Because it's telling you, if you want to have full sincerity to Allah, then you have to realize Allah's role in your life, and this is what you must know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And then I must realize what my full purpose. Remember when he says وَكَمَالُ الْإِخْلَاصِ لَهُ, he says وَكَمَالُ تَوْحِيدِهِ الْإِخْلَاصُ لَهُ, that the perfection of tawheed, of believing in Allah in a manner where you believe that He is unlimited, is to have full sincerity to Him. It's a statement of purpose. The Imam is telling you this. He's telling you, look, once you prove that God is unlimited, now you realize He's all purposeful, which means He has purpose in everything that He does, and He has given you purpose, and He created you for a purpose, and that purpose is that you dedicate yourself to Him and realize that since you created me, O Allah, and you gave me value by choosing for me to exist, O all perfect Creator, right? Then I must show you gratitude and dedicate everything that you've given me to you. Right? All of my senses, every faculty. So I don't look towards things except I think, does this please Allah or not? I don't walk towards things unless I know these legs will only take me towards what pleases Allah. I don't reach towards things unless I know that I'm reaching towards Allah. And actually, yesterday we covered between the prayers how to do wudu properly, right? If you recall. Now when we look at the symbolic meanings of wudu, wudu is a manifestation of that. Okay? When I wash my face, we said that's the first wajib thing to do, right? If we just look at the obligatory things. Washing the face, there's a short dua that you say, okay? And that dua basically means what? Means, oh Allah, do not let this face look towards things that displease you. Let it only look towards things that please you, O Allah. When I wash my arms, I ask Allah that He only allows these hands to reach towards things that please Him, not things that displease Him. Okay? Allahumma a'tini kitabi biyamini wa la tu'tini kitabi bishimali wa la taj'alha maghlulatan 'inda 'unuqi. Right? So what are you saying? You're saying, oh Allah, give me my book of good deeds in my right hand. Don't give it to me in my left hand. And don't let me be of those who hide their book behind their back and out of shame. So what are you saying? You're saying, oh Allah, let me only reach towards those things that please you, not those things that displease you. Oh Allah, when you now wipe your head, you say, oh Allah, shower me with your mercy and your forgiveness, and let my thoughts only be those thoughts that please you, oh Allah. Look at the dedication and the ikhlas, the dedication and the sincerity, right? I dedicate, what did we say? We said intellectually you come to the realization that since He created you and He gave you purpose, then your ultimate purpose is to please Him and to dedicate everything that He's given you to pleasing Him out of gratitude and thanks, right? To humble yourself to Allah is to dedicate yourself to Allah. And so Allah gives me this wudu before every prayer, before every meeting that I have with Him, so that He puts me in that mindset to know, that, oh Allah, I'm coming to you and I'm seeking, to be this way. Now imagine prayer, a person comes up to the Prophet, he says, why is it that we have 5 prayers? He said, imagine if you lived next to a stream and 5 times you wash yourself during the day. Would you ever have any dirt on you? He said, no. He said, Salah does the same thing for your soul and your spirit. Right? Imam al-Baqir says that when you take the water for your wudu, he says, Salah starts before your Salah. It starts in wudu. He says it's your mindset. The narrations say that Imam al-Baqir, Sayyidah Fatima salamullahi alayha, before they would even approach the prayer rug, right? They would be shivering and pale. When asked why, what do they say? They say, do you not know before whom I shall be standing in a few minutes? Think about it. When I have a meeting with an important figure, okay, let's say for a job interview or something, right? I wake up early, I prepare my clothes the day before. I might even drive to the location before just to make sure I get the right timing. I think about traffic, right? Make sure I've got a nice suit on, nice clothes, smell nice shoes, I make sure they're polished, and I'm there 15 minutes early, sitting, waiting, right? With my resume in my hand, right? Agreed? What am I waiting for? I'm waiting for the door to open so that they say to me, come in. Right? But I don't do that with Allah when it's time for my meeting with Him for prayer. But should I or shouldn't I? I should. Right? Because He has greater priority. Everything is in His hands. Proverbially, Allah does not have hands, of course. Meaning everything is in His control. If I please Him, then He will please me. He will give me what I want. As long as I please Him. Right? Think about it. Your parents, right? If you want something from them, right? You give them what they want. Will they give you what you want? They will give you not just that. They will, before you even ask them, they will give you what you want. So what about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Who gave them that sensibility, right? Does that make sense? Right? So now, wudu becomes literally a means to getting into that mindset. Many of us, we go into wudu and we're like, okay, splash, whatever, move on. Right? You don't know what the value of, what the symbolic meanings of this wudu is. When I wipe my feet, I'm saying, oh Allah, let my feet be steadfast on the straight path. As-sirat al-mustaqim, on the days that others fall off this path, oh Allah. Oh Allah, let me, which means, well, Allah, let me always make the right decisions that please you. Right? So what are you doing? It's a statement of dedication to Allah. Your wudu is a statement of dedication to Allah. It's a constant reminder, that I need to dedicate because everything starts with mindset. And if your mindset is right, then your intention is right. If you're in the right headspace, you know how sometimes people say, I'm not in the right headspace right now. I can't come. But Allah is providing these tools for you to get in the right headspace, to be in the right mindset. So that when you approach Him with that full sincerity. That I've dedicated, oh Allah, everything to you, my face, my attention, right? My hands, right? My mind, my intellect, right? My legs, I'm walking to you, oh Allah, right? And if you go there early, will Allah appreciate it or not? He doesn't need me. I need Allah, right? He created me to know Him. A lot of people say, what do you mean He created me to know? Think about it. Allah chose for me to exist. That means He deemed me worthy of knowing Him, right? So how can I not be thankful? When I lose sight, and it's so easy to lose sight. Why? Because there's so many distractions in this world, right? Social media, trying to gain a living, trying to study, trying to, please this boss and that boss and this group and that group, But then, should I not be focusing on pleasing Allah first and foremost? So then it's a mindset. The way that, to answer your question, might have been a long way of answering the question, right? But I wanted to connect kind of the dots for you, right? That you said, how do I see that? You can see it every time you go towards your salah, when you go towards your wudu. You remind yourself, you center yourself. And you know what's interesting? Notice our prayers, how they're spread out during the day. We have at the beginning of dawn, at dawn, right? Sunrise, right? Our day starts, right? We wake up before sunrise to pray. 2 rak'ahs. God makes it easy. He says, I know you can't handle 4, right? It's hard enough. 2 are hard enough for you, right? So we get up, we pray the 2 rak'ahs. What does it do? It creates an immunity shield around us until what? Until Dhuhr and Asr. Because by the time I get to Dhuhr and Asr, the busiest time of the day, that immunity shield is pretty much cracked by the time I get there. The power, it needs recharging, right? So I go back to my prayer. This is why if I don't stop at that charging station, like I remember one day I rented a Tesla. I was on the East Coast, okay? So that's the wrong thing to do if you're on the East Coast, because there aren't enough charging stations. On the West Coast, there's plenty. If you're in Canada and Toronto area, there's plenty. But on the East Coast, from Michigan to Ohio to Pennsylvania, I couldn't find a charging station, okay? So I imagine that was my prayer. Beginning of the day, I'm fully charged like that car, okay? As I'm moving, the battery is going lower and lower and lower, right? The power is decreasing. I'm getting worried, right? And now I'm stuck, okay? If I don't pray on time at that charging station and I haven't organized my day properly to know where the charging station is and to stop and charge, and I passed the charging station. I said, no, I'll be okay until I get to the next one. Big mistake. And it's the same with your salah. It's exactly the same. Allah gives you these examples in life so that then you can correlate them to your real life. Okay? Think about it. If I charge myself, I have this beautiful immunity shield around me, right? And then what happens? I get to Dhuhr and Asr. I delay. When I delay, I've delayed my charging at peak time. I'm more likely to be distracted. And there are hadiths that say that when you delay your prayer, it's like a door you just opened for shaitan. You cracked open. The longer you wait, the bigger the crack becomes. The more you wait, the door is opening, he puts his foot in. Next thing you know, he slams it open, he's in there, he's partying, he's wreaking havoc in your heart. You forget about salah, and next thing you know, you're in a state of regret and you could be doing something that displeases Allah, more than that, worse than that. Okay? Why? Because you allowed him in. Because you didn't charge, your heart, your iman, your faith, your mindset. To remind yourself up until, Dhuhr and Asr I prayed, and then Maghrib and Isha now is my other charging station. So if I pray on time, I'm protecting myself. I've got another immunity shield until Maghrib and Isha. Then Maghrib and Isha until I sleep, I've got an immunity bubble, an immunity shield. Right? Then rinse and repeat. Wake up in the morning. Right? Now, why did I said 5 prayers 3 times a day? Because Allah in the Holy Quran says, أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا. Allah says in the Holy Quran, there are 3 times for prayer. Okay? And this is agreed upon by both schools of thought, by the way. Shafi'i says that there's no proof that you are to separate your prayers, that there's a long separation between prayers, that it was only the second Khalifa that actually legislated this, and there was no actual proof of this legislation at all. Okay, no evidence to base it on. This didn't occur in the time of the Prophet. Now, how much we separate, our prayers, it's not that we're not praying 8 rak'ahs, we're praying 4 and 4. Right? For example, Dhuhr and Asr, right? 3 and 4. But the separation between them is not that long. All right? Our ulama tell us, according to the narrations of Ahl al-Bayt, that it could be as short as the tasbih and as long as praying the nafilah, which are the recommended prayers between your prayers. But it should not be longer than that. Okay? Yes?
I'm going to ask in Arabic first.
Yeah.
And then Allah Ta'ala
Yes. الله لا متعال.
تعالى غير محدود.
أي.
وهو كامل. عز وجل. هل العقل محدود؟ If yes, why? If no, why? Now, Allah Ta'ala is powerful.
أي.
It's perfect. He created our brain. Our brain always makes thoughts, designs, technology. Our brain benefits.
So there's 2 things you mentioned. أخ سجاد ذكر أمرين. أول شيء العقل وثاني شيء الدماغ. يوجد فرق ما بين العقل والدماغ. Meaning he mentioned 2 things, intellect and the brain. The brain is different than the intellect. The intellect is something you cannot hold and you cannot see. العقل هو شيء لا يرى. زين لا يرى ولا يلزم باليد. شيء ميتافيزيقي. It's a metaphysical thing. The intellect عفوا. The brain is physical. العقل عفوا الدماغ شيء فيزيقي. يعني أقدر ألزمه بإيدي. I can hold it in my hand. Okay? I see it. Right? I took anatomy when I was doing physiology in university, right? And basically you see the human brain, right? Obviously there are no thoughts in there. Yeah. But no, not that there's nothing. We know that these neuronal pathways are actually like your solid state hard drive. They store information. And proof of that is that, and my father was a liver transplant surgeon, and I know heart transplant surgeons, and there are studies that show that when transplants are done from one human being to another, that this individual actually ends up retaining some of the neuronal pathways that the donor actually had, to the point that they have memories and thoughts that are similar to that person who was the donor. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. فنفرق احنا طبعا بين العقل، ويعرف العقل أمير المؤمنين سلام الله عليه فيقول: العقل ما عبد به الرحمن واكتسب به الجنان، أو في رواية أخرى ما عرف به الرحمن واكتسب به الجنان. Imam Ali, he defines the aql, the intellect, as that with which Allah is worshipped or known, and that with which heaven is attained. Because if you dedicate your intellect to believing in Allah, then you dedicate yourself to Allah, then you will do whatever Allah tells you, and therefore you will gain heaven. Make sense, Abu Fadl? Okay? So, the brain obviously is limited. It's limited in the amount of information it can store. Al-aql is not as limited as the brain, but it is limited. Why? Because it is a creation of Allah. So because it is created, the very nature of being created is to be limited, to have a beginning. You see? Therefore, yes, it is limited. Yeah. Comparison to Allah, of course, it is. He created it, therefore it's limited. فإذا العقل محدود لأنه الله الذي خلقه باعتبار أنه هو مخلوق فكل مخلوق له بداية صح؟ فبما أن لديه بداية فهذا حد وبناء على ذلك فهو محدود.
بالنسبة للصلاة تعلمون الصلاة
بين الصلاتين.
الركعة الثانية
أي.
بعد الركعة الثانية يعني بعد صلاة سورة الفاتحة هل ممكن قراءة أي سورة ثانية قصيرة أو
إيه ممكن.
لازم نقرأ سورة قل هو الله أحد؟
No, in the second rak'ah, it's recommended to recite قل هو الله أحد. قل هو الله أحد is recommended. يعني مستحب أن تقرأ سورة الإخلاص أو التوحيد أو قل هو الله أحد في الركعة الثانية للسورة الصغيرة. وممكن أيضا قراءة أي سورة أخرى. الآن إذا أنت قرأت مثلا الفاتحة في الركعة الأولى وقرأت سورة قصيرة أخرى، هو طبعا الأفضل قراءة قل هو الله أحد في الركعة الأولى في السورة الثانية. زين. في الركعة الثانية عادة يعني حسب ما هو مكتوب في المنهاج أنه يكره قراءة نفس السورة مرة أخرى كسورة قصيرة إلا سورة الإخلاص تستحب قراءتها. أحطه جاوبنا على سؤالكم بالإنجليزي. إيه. Okay, so brother Abu Hassan was asking about the second rak'ah of prayer. Do I have to recite for the second surah, the short surah, do I have to recite قل هو الله أحد, or can I recite any other short chapter? I can, yes, recite any other short chapter, but it is recommended, to recite قل هو الله أحد. لحظة قبلك لأنه هو رفع إيده وقت اللي عم رفع إيده. I know. Yeah. Okay, brother Ahmed, and then we'll get to you, brother Sajjad.
So this is more of a question based on the lecture that we had before.
Yes.
So basically, when you were talking about how there's a reason for everything, but we don't necessarily need to know it because we are limited from the beginning.
Yeah.
With that in mind, this is basically just something that I thought of.
Sure.
But, so then with that in mind, is ignorance truly bliss? Like, are you truly happy with
No, of course not. Because ignorance is lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, lack of knowledge is where shaitan thrives. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, الناس أعداء ما جهلوا. People are an enemy to that which they are ignorant of. Okay? So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the Holy Quran, Allahu nuru samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. And if you think about it, what does that mean? That means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings knowledge to you, right? اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Allah commands the Holy Prophet to read. So that tells you the importance of gaining knowledge in Islam. أفلا يفقهون أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها. Do they not take the time to learn and understand the Holy Quran, or are there locks on their hearts? So then ignorance becomes a state of having a locked heart. Okay. Now that we understand this, that means my journey in this life has to be a journey of knowledge gain. And the type of knowledge that I should be gaining isn't any type of knowledge. It should be, yes, knowledge that will help me to thrive in this dunya, to be able to sustain myself, to open up a household, to have a family, right? To support my parents, to support those who are in need, right? But also, more importantly, is the knowledge that I will take to my hereafter with me, right? So Amir al-Mu'mineen Sallallahu Alaihi is reported to have said that there are three things that the son of Adam takes with him, meaning that mankind take with them after they leave this world. Everything else they leave behind. Your wealth, your health, your kids, you leave everything behind. there are only 3 things that you take with you, right? He says, sadaqatun jariyah, a perpetual charity, a charity that continues after you die. So if you need, in this month, you want a perpetual charity, go to al-ayn.org, okay? al-ayn.org. They have, this is a Al-Ayn Social Care Foundation, right? It was established by the Office of Ayatollah Sistani in 2006. It takes care of the orphans in Iraq, in Africa, in Ghana, in Yemen, right? As well as in Afghanistan, okay? So you can go there and you can, every month of Ramadan, they have Sadaqah Jariyah projects. I believe they're building a hospital right now in Karbala. You can contribute to that. Also in Afghanistan, they're also building projects. So you can contribute to that if you want to contribute to Afghanistan, for example. You can contribute to Ghana as well. And there are projects, you can go to the website and check it out and contribute there. So Sadaqatun Jariyah. Then he says, Waladun Salihun Yad'u Lak, a good child that remembers you in their dua after you pass. So you raise your child well, right? Then they will make dua for you and have majalis in your name, right? And cook and give to those to the mu'mineen and those who are impoverished in your name. This is a good child, a child that will remember you in your dua, in their dua. And then the third is ilmun yuntafa'u bih, knowledge that benefits you in the hereafter. Okay? So what knowledge benefits you in this world and the hereafter? Being an electrician is going to benefit you in the hereafter? Being in computer sciences, learning generative AI is going to benefit you in the hereafter? No. Okay? So what knowledge is it that will benefit you from the hereafter? The knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. The knowledge that Allah gave His representatives so that they teach us. Right? And that's why Amir al-Mu'mineen Salamullahi alayhi says, look, it is not wajib for you to search out your wealth. Right? It's not wajib upon you. It's not wajib. Why? He says, because your wealth will come to you. Allah has written it and apportioned it for you. تصعد تنزل شو راح يصير؟ ما تحصل إلا هذا الرزق اللي الله كتب لك إياه. Right? This is what Allah has written for you. Now that doesn't mean sit on your laurels at home and expect, DoorDash to deliver, the rizq to you. That's not going to happen. Okay? بشرطها وشروطها. There are criteria. You have to go out. You have to try to get a living, to get educated, whatever. You have to work. You have to educate yourself. So this is علم للدنيا. لقضاء للحال يعني. Okay? Not للمآل. مآل which is where you will end up. But you need علم للمآل. You need علم للآجل, for the hereafter. And that is what we're doing today, right? Gaining the knowledge, in these nights, inshaAllah, so we can come closer to Allah and understand what Allah wants of us through the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, alayhim afdal as-salatu was-salam, right? So then that means then, when we say, oh, ignorance is bliss, this is an expression that we use, right? And we say in Arabic, biha tasamuh. Meaning what? Meaning that there's a little bit of kind of wriggle room in that, because it's not referring to everything, right? It's referring to, let's say for example, somebody did something bad or said something bad about you, and you'd rather not have heard it. You're like, well, ignorance is bliss. I wish I'd never heard it, right? Okay? That's not what it's referring, to that, because ignorance obviously is a place of darkness, and people get lost in that ignorance and fall into, when you don't know your life purpose, you get depressed, right? When you don't know what you're worth, you start to believe whatever worth other people impose upon you. لما انت ما تعرف قيمتك الذاتيه اللي الله اعطاك اياها، شو راح يصير؟ اشعاع مو معيط، كل ما يجي واحد يقول لك لا انت انسان مو زين، لا انت هيك، لا، ويحبط بيك وينزل بيك وينكد بيك، زين، وانت تصدقه. وتصدقه ليش؟ لانه ماكو احد ثاني قاعد يقول لك اي شيء ايجابي عنك، زين؟ ماكو واحد يقول لك حبيبي الله يرضى عليك بعد عمري. انت تقدر تسوي، تقدر تنجز. There isn't anybody, if there's nobody in your life saying positive things to you, telling you what you can do, not what you can't do, telling you what you can be, not what you will never be, right? Then you're more likely to believe the negative. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that one should always remember Allah at all times. وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا وَمِنْ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْ وَأَطْرَافِ النَّهَارِ لَعَلَّكَ تَرْضَى. Allah says, look, what's the best thing that you can do that is positive? It's remembrance of Allah. So He says, and exalt Allah. Remember Allah. When? Before sunrise, before sunset, right? At night, at the ends of the day. Make sure that you remember Allah and you dedicate yourself to Him. and you don't ascribe a partner to him. Not the football game, not your workout, not your job, nothing, right? Priority number one is Allah. هم الأول الله وما يريده الله. My first and most important priority and my biggest worry is whether I'm pleasing Allah or not. And this is why Imam Ali, when he said, ما رأيت شيء إلا ورأيت الله قبله وبعده وفيه وحوله, right? I didn't see anything except that I saw Allah before it and after it and around it and in it. Not physically, of course. He's saying there isn't a decision that I make in my life except that Allah is part of it. And that's what I need to strive towards. Now I know that there's a plan for me, right? And I see that there are steps that I need to take and there are ways for me to get there. God gave me these steps. He told me it's an open book exam, by the way. This life is an open book exam. The formulas are easy. I always tell people, look, Islam is a religion of formulas. أنا وكافل اليتيم كهاتين. Right? The Prophet says, I and the sponsor of an orphan are tight, like these two fingers. Right? So this is very simple. You want to be in heaven? You want to be with the Prophet? All you have to do is sponsor an orphan. Go to Al-Ain Social Care Foundation, sponsor an orphan. Okay? So, religion is, you want to be successful? You want to be positive in your life? Remember Allah. Before sunrise, before sunset, ends of the day, at night. How can you not be positive? If you connect yourself with who? We said, the unlimited. You're going to have unlimited success. Last question.
Going gym, doing sports, of course, it's something we like.
Yes.
I love personally to do this thing. Hanging out with friends. Can I be close to Allah Ta'ala, the unlimited perfect, by doing things that I love?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can. If you like, for example, to be healthy, right? To work out and to run, and yeah, of course, you can be healthy. Allah gave you this body as a trust, so you take care of it, right? To keep it healthy. Allah gave us our intellect as a trust, so we don't poison it, just like we shouldn't be poisoning our bodies, right? By smoking or by not exercising or by, right? Okay? I'm not looking at those who smoke, by the way. All right? So, yes, but now I have to see how am I getting healthy, If I'm going into the gym, is it a gym where there are, women that aren't wearing clothes that are appropriate? Will that please Allah if I put myself in such an environment? Because if that's the case, then I need to figure out either what time there aren't those things in front of me, and I go to that gym, or, I try to figure out, I maybe, make a gym in my garage or my basement, or maybe get together with a bunch of brothers and open up my own gym, right? Rent out a plaza and make a gym for the brothers, because I know there are sisters that also need a gym as well from our community, right? Now there are other gyms like, I don't know, some that are out there that are women only, but we don't have men only gyms, unfortunately, right? But we need it, for our Muslim brothers, we need it, right? So for myself, I have a gym at home, right? So you've got to find the solution for yourself, if you want to work out and you want to be healthy. And I think once we get all our minds together, and we're together and we have that healthy mindset, we can all go to the gym together and we can all work out, but go to halal gym. Maybe open up a gym called Halal Gym. I know. The halal guys. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Haji.
Can we employ something useless like the Gen AI to the service of
Of course. Of course, yes. You can use AI. For example, I've used some AI, and one of the sheikhs in Sweden also hit me up, and he was doing some videos, using AI, to bring people closer to Islam. Giving them information about Ahlul Bayt, about so and generating the images and generating the videos using AI. So definitely, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, طبعا. Of course. Yeah, there's a whole process, طبعا.
Yeah, well, you have to, because sometimes AI can be
Yeah, needs supervision and editing and
Yeah.
quality control. Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
Muhammad